it's really creative to see what ideas you have that you want our help to deliver on. So just real quick background. We're good, it looks like. Thank you. I started with SQL Server in 91. I started with BI in 97, I think it was, something like that. And I've been doing this a long time. I'm really passionate about it. I kind of summarize it this way. I shared it with a few folks earlier. Is my Xbox Live gamer tag is Data Junkie. That's kind of the way I think. So what I want to talk about today is how you can take all these creative thoughts that you've seen and heard or thinking yourself and make a pilot out of it. How do you want to take your idea and make it real? So let's just kind of get into a couple of quick examples, some of which you've already heard about. I just want to give you some reference information to. Bob earlier said his background is at Yahoo. Well, Yahoo worked with some of our engineers to develop the world's largest analytical cube. We're talking analysis services, if you want to talk product for a moment. And it's a MOLAP store. I'm getting into the weeds, sorry. But it's over 24 terabytes in size. This is physical storage of aggregated data that started in the petabyte range, covering a quarter of all of the segmentation analytics for Yahoo. And the case study is referenced here. It's an interesting read. You can do a search on it. Just go to Yahoo on case studies at Microsoft.com. That's a very interesting one that we've done years ago. So we've been working with this team now for quite a few years. The other one that's interesting is for AMD. It's machine learning. It's about machine monitoring, excuse me, and being able to take all of that information in and do predictive analytics on mean time to failure is a classic example. So again, case study reference, some interesting streaming data, being able to pull all the telemetry off the machines. Another one that's really interesting is, given all the sensitivity that has occurred in the security space and the intelligence space, there's an interesting aspect to this particular solution. New York Police Department, in collaboration with Microsoft, developed a security center that leverages the 3,500 plus cameras down in Wall Street, plus some other telemetry information and other forms of input, to really monitor in real time the security of Wall Street. I'm talking the ability to recognize an unattended package within 2 minutes. If you left your backpack sitting on the corner of some building, within 2 minutes the system automatically recognizes that package, sends an alert to the command console and says, hey, suspicious package, go check it out. Another thing that I find very cool is, and I'm going to ask for a little audience participation here. Everyone that's wearing a blue shirt, stand up. Sweaters count. I know. It's close enough. What's really interesting is the time it took you to stand up, an alert of a request to find a child wearing a blue shirt, the system would have already identified everybody in all those cameras that was wearing a blue shirt. And the time it took you to stand up. Thank you, I appreciate that. Very illustrative, very accurate, fascinating technology, and it's highly unstructured data. We're talking video, real-time video. So object recognition, we saw the earlier example around the Kinect. I mean, how many people own a Kinect? I'm just kind of curious. There's a few hands up. My kids play it. I don't. I just don't. Too sedentary. So let's kind of talk a little bit about how services, and I don't mean the services like what Roger was talking about, the services as in helping you deliver on some of these engagements. How do we do this? So, very predictable approach, and recognizing what your needs are from a business decision maker perspective, So this is this 1+5 program. And it's a consistent approach that we use within our services organization for having a constructive conversation on what your business decision makers, or BDMs as we refer to them, what their needs and interests are, what is their intent, what are their objectives, that sort of thing. And then an envisioning phase that is, let's figure out how we're going to do this. So let me just break this down a little bit. So on the strategy briefing, your executives, your decision makers, your business support stakeholders come in, take a look at what we want to do, how we want to do it, what's the business value of the ask, and even exploring that with you if you don't know that answer. Let's go figure it out, you know. And then the technical decision makers, or TDMs, come in, and we go through a 2 to 5 day, it's flexible, process of discovering what it is, being able to envision it, design it, and go forward into some next steps on how to actually do this. So those next steps, quite a few different options. If you really don't have an idea what your environment is capable of, or what your resources are capable of, what are the skills required to achieve this interest, this intent that we identified on that strategy day, we just start with an assessment. If you've got a good idea of what that is, but you want to kind of prove it out, and you've seen some of the technologies, you've seen some very future stuff, you've seen some stuff that's available today, but you've never put it all together to say, you know, can we actually use this? Then we can do a POC, proof of concept. If you're in agreement that the technologies that are available to you are consistent with what you want to do, and we're in a position to help you do that, we can go into a pilot. We can say, all right, we're going to build this solution, whatever it is we decided on, and we're going to put it out into your business environment in limited capacity to figure out how well it's going to work. Get some feedback on it, iterate over it. Or if you're highly confident, you already know what you want to do, but you need some help getting it done with the technologies, we can go straight into a production environment. Now, I don't actually encourage that. I would recommend that you actually go through a POC or a pilot at minimum to really make sure that what you're thinking, what your business stakeholders are putting money on, can be successful and deliver on it. So this is really where Microsoft Services, working with our partners like Hortonworks, and being able to deliver in this space. Now, Roger showed Bing. How big is Bing? Anybody got any idea? Now, we've been throwing around some big numbers today. Bing matches those big numbers. We've been doing big data for years. Bing is 100,000 nodes and over a zettabyte of data. And the result sets that you get are highly intuitive, very informative, and you can bring those concepts, those technologies, into your own house. Probably won't be a zettabyte of data, it might be, but those concepts are still applicable. Now, when you think about consulting services, you don't think about the data scientists. Well, we've got help there as well. Within Microsoft, we have our research organization. Research at Microsoft.com is a very interesting site. There's a lot of interesting concepts and discussions occurring there. There's also, within our operations organization, a group of data scientists that we can partner with. We actually work with our data scientist group in the context of our customers in the field, being able to bring those researchers, those scientists into the conversation, into the actual delivery process to ensure that what you're trying to achieve with your data scientists match up with the domain expertise our data scientists have. You can have that level of conversation peer-to-peer. And then our consulting organization, our delivery resources are there to help you be successful in that delivery. So we've talked about the business value at the beginning of the day. We've seen some very cool technologies. And now it's the question of how do you go do this? Now, it can be a very simple exploratory thing of getting an Azure account, playing with it, totally independent of us, totally okay. In fact, I encourage you to go do that. There's some more involved pieces of that, like integrating with your existing systems. How many people in here actually do security architecture across your data sets? Nobody? Interesting discussion. I got one hand back there. Two hands. All right, I'm getting there. So how do you allow the democratization of BI, but ensuring the sensitivity of the data to only those individuals that need it? Interesting balance. So some interesting things that we've also done is take these learnings, this whole idea of customer analytics. We've taken this intellectual property across all of our solutions that we've delivered, packaged it up so we can accelerate that value. So as Roger said, instead of taking months to deliver something, we can deliver in weeks. And that's really the intent. That's the goal, because on the commercial side, on the public side, it's about deriving value faster. This entire industry is accelerating. Instead of taking 2 years to develop a data warehouse, you can do it in a much shorter amount of time. So those are some of the things we're trying to get done. So just real quick, around the customer analytics, being able to integrate that data from a variety of data systems into this insight capability or platform, and then being able to drive that value into action. Remember the top of the pyramid, making it actionable. It's great to have that knowledge, but if you don't act on it, do you really derive any value from it? So some of the things that we talk about is being able to pull this variety of data from these different systems and being able to bring them together into some creative and visually appealing ways so that you can recognize what needs to get done and prioritize that. So being able to look at how this information works from a sentiment perspective, there's a variety of sentiment engines out there. Being able to consume that, get your scoring, bring it back, align it with your set of data, and doing that programmatically. There's a lot of pieces of that puzzle. We've already got that packaged up in an IP. We walk in the door with it, we deliver it, connect up the data. It's all about the integration. Now, finally, being able to associate that with the customers, with your end users, with your audience, your target audience, and do that in a constructive one-on-one almost approach, so that what is specific to you is totally different to you. The data represents that, and whoever is doing that communication with those customers can do so in a very informed decision, a very informed way. So we talked earlier about how to monitor equipment. We talked about the case study about AMD. I touched on it briefly. So I went out to that particular solution and looked at some of the high-level information just to show you what system monitoring is. Now, system monitoring is not sexy. It's boring. And I love this picture to represent that. Because if you really think about it, going back and thinking about the overnight monitoring of the systems, they're sitting at the desk, they're probably reading the book, or if it's a college kid, he's doing his homework or whatever, all right? Or worst case, he's sleeping. Now, let's automate that. Well, let's understand first what it is we're trying to monitor. So from a business perspective or BDM perspective, it's about being proactive in detecting the failures. So if you think of that 1+5 model, day one, this was the primary objective, all right? The rest of these points came out of the envisioning phase. What is it we're going to monitor? How are we going to monitor? What are some of the criteria involved in it? So, and then the storage, of course. Now, not the prettiest of pictures, I freely admit that, but it is illustrative of how we have put the architecture together around this steady state system. And you notice on the far left is all of your telemetry data, all of your system monitoring, and then bringing that in at real time, and there's a couple of products named in here, and doing that exception-based analytics at real time. So if I see a drive that starts to get hot, I want to be able to go take care of it now. Simple as that. Dropping that data into Hadoop allows us to do that rear view mirror analytics as well, to do trending analysis. Being able to store that data in an unstructured fashion so I don't have to worry about what does the database schema look like. Let's make sure that that is flexible. I don't want it to be brittle as we change things. And then bring that forward into more advanced predictive analytics. You know, Roger mentioned that we've got existing data mining models. That's within this product called Analysis Services as well. So today, though, as we look at this core piece around the warehouse, this is, yes, wrong button. There we go. We have some interesting technology that allows us to take existing skill sets around writing SQL queries and transparently mirroring or matching those up to the unstructured or Hive-based queries, type of queries, with Hadoop. So with our PDW, or Parallel Data Warehouse technologies, there's this interface we call Polybase. And it allows us to blend relational structured queries with unstructured queries transparent to the end user. So that transparency looks something like this. Now, honestly, I'm not too much talking about the right-hand side of the screen. I want to focus on the left-hand side for just a moment. And I also, just as a side note, realize I'm between you and lunch. So I'm going to wrap this up here in just a moment and let you guys eat lunch and ask any of the follow-up questions, because I know there were some open questions for Roger. I know that we're going to keep him around as long as we can. This conversation is really how you can write standard SQL and reference a table that you think is maybe a relational table, when in fact it's pointing out to the Hadoop cluster. Now, this does not single thread that query through a Hive query. It actually parses this data out and sends it out to the data nodes, similar to what the name node does in Hadoop today. I can create an external table reference out to that data set and then reference that table, that external table, as if it's a SQL table. And the predicates for that table go out to the data nodes for parsing, map reduce jobs on the fly. Comes back, because of the MPP architecture, it allows the result sets to be brought together concurrently. Final result set comes back to the end user as if it was a regular result set for SQL. So if you've got existing skill sets around relational databases and want to immediately leverage the Hadoop distributions that you have or are planning on having, you can bring these two technologies together and allow the existing skill sets to leverage the enhanced capabilities of Hadoop. So I wanted to end on that note. I didn't want to spend a lot of time getting in the way of lunch, but I wanted to touch on some of the capabilities that Microsoft Services has and can bring to your organizations. I will leave you on one other note. That 1+5 model that I was talking about, that's at no charge to you. You just got to get with your account rep, or you can get with John sitting down here, or any of us, to have that conversation to get that scheduled. So I just wanted to leave that note with you. Other than that, just some things that we're capable of delivering on, and some follow-up questions that we can have. I know that lunch is sitting out there. So with that, I'm going to get out of your way. Roger's sitting right here. There's a door that way if you want to block it. There's another door that way if you want to block it. Keep him in here. Roger, I'll bring you lunch so you don't miss it. Thank you. I appreciate it.